the air shifts, a silent decree echoing across the heavens. What began as a whisper now solidifies into judgment. This is not merely the year 2025. It is a moment far heavier, charged with an electric tension, restless and undeniable. Could this be the precipice, the final step before the chasm opens? Have you truly perceived it? They spoke of inflation, of climate, of elections. They spoke of distant, controlled wars. They urged you to look away, to scroll past, to debate, and always to sleep soundly. While your gaze was fixed on artificial intelligence and gleaming spectacles, unseen hands meticulously rearranged the world's chessboard, piece by piece, without a single request for permission. I have not come to merely echo headlines. I have come to tear away the veil, for what they label as deterrence may well be the very spark destined to ignite the inferno. Today is the 13th of February, 2026. Mark this date with an unyielding flame, for it shall reverberate when memory attempts to flee from fear. As you draw breath, they advance in silence, and the checkmate is already in motion. In the span of the last 48 hours, the United States has set in motion a colossal force, a monumental aircraft carrier, a floating throne of steel and reactors, a testament to war, and it does not sail alone. A second Titan now enters the eastern Mediterranean, two fists of metal in the same sacred waters, as if the sea itself were an altar. The White House names it deterrence. The news channels proclaim its support for allies. I call it by its stark, brutal name, preparation for sacrifice. Hear this truth. A mission of peace is not heralded by two leviathans. Peace does not navigate escorted by fire, by drones, by missiles, feigning calm. If this vigil awakens something within you, subscribe now and remain with me. For what lies ahead is not mere theory. It is a countdown. 2,500 years ago, a man by the rivers of Babylon witnessed this very scene long before satellites, long before radar. He saw it, and his heart trembled, for certain visions are not meant for entertainment. He saw ships from the west, he saw the bear of the north, he saw Persia armed with fire. And we, in our modern complacency, label it a regional crisis, so as not to tremble. Do not call it a conflict in the Middle East. Call it the dawn of Gog and Magog, for the ancient words are now knocking at the modern door. Therefore, I dissect the facts of February 2026 with cold precision, stripping away propaganda like old hide, gazing only upon the bone of the movement, the largest accumulation of naval power since the Gulf War. Why now? Because Israel is encircled, and everyone knows it, even as they pretend not to. But there is a detail the commentator overlooks. Washington believes it protects Tel Aviv, yet the scriptures describe an ancient snare. Ezekiel 38 speaks of Tarshish and her young lions. For centuries, scholars have linked Tarshish to the maritime powers of the West and their political offspring. When the North advances, Tarshish does not fight. She merely questions, like a diplomatic note. And this is terrifying. Have you come to seize plunder? Have you assembled your hordes to carry off loot? It is a question devoid of a sword. It is concern cloaked in protocol. It is impotence disguised as diplomacy. The presence of two aircraft carriers may not prevent war. It may provoke it, like a spark near gunpowder, for the adversary seeks the precise moment of collision. Russia and Iran do not contend with America in conventional warfare. Therefore, should they strike, they will require asymmetry, something that obliterates advantage in an instant, an electromagnetic pulse that incinerates circuits, rendering steel mute, or a hypersonic missile that cleaves through defenses like a blade through wet fabric. I observe America positioning queens upon the board, but I also witness the other side playing poker, a knowing smile upon their lips, holding a hidden ace you have yet to perceive. Silence, dust in the wind, and the chilling sensation that a decision has already been rendered long before us, while the multitude smiles, distracted, oblivious to the incision. Look to the north. Ukraine languishes, for its purpose was to drain arsenals, not to heal. 2025 brought no accord, for attrition was the objective. Arsenals emptied, stockpiles consumed, promises shattered, and weariness engulfing the capitals. Magog, Russia, played the game of erosion, sacrificing men and metal to appear ensnared in the west, to seem weak, to divert eyes and cameras. But on Ezekiel's map, Magog does not gaze westward. Magog gazes southward. Hear this: the hook pulls downward, not sideways. I will put hooks in your jaws and drag you out. I read these words, and a chill permeates my being, for it appears less as politics and more as mechanism, like the gears of destiny. Putin is not merely a strategist. Whether he knows it or not, he has become a piece in a grander will, turning within a clock that seeks no vote. Russia and Iran have forged a hardened alliance, mutual defense treaties signed and then disregarded, as if paper could not transform into steel when the hour arrives. Should Israel touch Iran, Russia will enter, and every choice will bleed, with no clean escape. He understands he cannot dominate Europe without immediate nuclear conflagration. Thus, he targets energy, and energy resides in the Middle East, at the very heart of the earth. Plunder and prey, gas, oil, roots, control. Ukraine was the magician's right hand. The left hand carried the weapon in Tehran. I return to the epicenter of the impending catastrophe: Persia, Iran. In 2025, we ignored the signs. Public reports spoke of enrichment nearing the fatal threshold. And today, the 13th of February, 2026, nearing becomes ready. And the finger on the button belongs not to fearful bureaucrats, but to believers in the end. If you can, leave your like and support this work now. This keeps this message alive in the encroaching darkness, when distraction attempts to swallow all. The Shiite leadership awaits the Mahdi, and in their theology, chaos is a red carpet. For them, the abyss is not an end, it is a necessary beginning. Why has Israel not yet struck? Or has it already struck in secret, and it was not enough? The clock tightens, for if Iran officially declares a bomb on a ballistic missile, Israel's very existence hangs by a thread. Their doctrine permits no waiting, so Israel must strike now or never. But if it strikes, it activates the Magog-Persia alliance, a dead end where every door leads to fire. And behold who enters the feast. The Northern Coalition completes itself. Kush and Put, lands of North Africa, Gomer and Togarma, Turkish regions. Turkey, a NATO member, has turned its face. In 2025, the rhetoric hardened. Israel the enemy, the West complicit. Words that pave the way for steps of steel. In 2025, while the world slept, the violence in Gaza escalated and cities turned to dust. I speak with a tremor. The ground remembers, even when the screen forgets. Ezekiel 38, a land saved from the sword, a people gathered after dispersion. Modern Israel, restored, living as if secure, until that security shatters abruptly before all eyes. From the 7th of October to 2025, prosperity transforms into a siren, then smoke, then mourning, and endless nights. An invisible force propels actors toward collision, as if political logic has been suspended. Rationally, it is inconvenient. Prophetically, it is the destined path. The West and the Gulf, Tarshish, Sheba, and Dedan respond with declarations and caution. They fear that if Israel falls, they will be the next to be devoured. And the prophecy becomes specific. It describes not merely war, It describes modern consequences with ancient vocabulary, like a child attempting to name a lightning bolt in the desert. It speaks of a great earthquake in Israel, shaking all creation, and I observe pressure on the Dead Sea fault line, strange signs, like a warning etched in stone, and I recall the vision of the Valley of Dry Bones. For decades, we spoke of rebirth, but today, I also perceive an army, technological, resurrected from the ashes. In Ezekiel 39, there is a detail that stole my sleep: teams traversing the land to mark human remains, without touching, summoning others for burial. This is not merely ritual, it is physical peril, a contaminated body, invisible death clinging to the skin. Experts in chemical and nuclear warfare have told me this resembles modern field decontamination protocol. Sealed suit, meter, distance, mark, burial. I confront 4 scenarios for 2026, and none bear the scent of peace. First, the great provocation, perceived weakness, a blow delivered when the victim is divided. Second, the trigger incident, a terror greater than the last, or a desperate preemptive strike against subterranean facilities where stone guards fire. Third, the collapse of regional order, Saudi neutrality, Egypt and Jordan succumbing to protests and debts. Borders open like an exposed wound overnight. Fourth, the black swan, or divine intervention. Fire, brimstone and hail could be catastrophic failure, sabotage by code, or natural disaster, striking armies on the march. And it is not merely war. Economic signals scream silently. Currency losing strength, trust fracturing, and the system hurtling towards total control. CBDCs, a digital leash, buying and selling by permission, especially in rationing now. And the spiritual sign that causes 3 religions to tremble, the Third Temple. And at Jerusalem, utensils remade, garments woven, priests prepared, all in waiting. And the red heifer, a piece of the ancient rite, bred and inspected. For some, it is folklore. For others, it is war. For those who believe, it is the red line. Our generation witnesses total convergence, military, economic, technological, spiritual, all at once. No longer hypothesis, an announced chronology. The elements interlock like blades. While aircraft carriers cleave the Mediterranean and frozen silos open in Siberia. While centrifuges spin and altars prepare, the question shifts. It is not if it will happen. It is what you will do when the screen goes black and reality knocks at your door, demanding decision, repentance, and courage. For time is not scarce, time is finite. And I ask you, what kind of man or woman do you wish to be when the convergence finds you? I pause here, and I hear the silence itself, as if the city awaits a power cut. Ezekiel's fire from heaven could also be human error. Warheads that fail to detonate, systems blinded, command chains broken by an invisible attack. It could be code, it could be sabotage, it could be artificial intelligence hijacking buttons, confusing targets, jamming radars, in a single second, causing men to press the wrong one. And when this occurs, it is not merely borders that collapse, it is routine. Cards fail, networks fall. Buying and selling becomes permission, password, blockade. This is why the race for CBDCs is not neutral. It is an architecture of control for times of war, when fear accepts chains they call security. And the Third Temple is not a religious detail, it is a fuse. For it stirs the esplanade, it stirs symbols, it stirs blood, it stirs wounded pride. Convergence is when 4 storms arrive in the same minute: sea, land, market, and altar. And the common man realizes too late that he was at the center. If it seems like madness, breathe and remember. Prophecy only appears as exaggeration before it becomes a headline. I do not ask for panic. I ask for vigilance. Hear this. Open your eyes, measure your words. and do not let your soul be purchased by cheap distraction. For the greatest trap is not the missile, it is the stupor. It is believing that tomorrow will be the same, even when the signs scream that the ground has already shifted. I have seen kings tremble before rumors. I have seen multitudes sing before ruins. And I have seen how fear can transform into religion in a single night. If the screen goes black, the question will not be who won. It will be in whom did you trust, and what truth did you choose to carry when everything was stripped away. So prepare your heart, not your excuses. For when reality knocks, it will not ask for your opinion. It will demand your stance. I am telling you this as a witness. The countdown is not on the government's clock. It is in our behavior, minute by minute. So what real change will you make today, and why before the convergence finds you?